I heard you talking about sex magic and I was like, go girl, go girl. I do sex magic for sure.
So Patti and Nick is like the leading witch in the country. She's on Discovery Channel and she's my best friend and she's my teacher. And so we do magic on Fridays, which is Venus Day. When you're trying to summon a man, I'm not giving my secrets away. Not only do we use the fragrance, but we light the candles, we bless the candles. I'm a Hecate. Hecate is my goddess. So I bring in Hecate energy into it. Somebody might be Venus or Aphrodite. And there are ways where you use your vibrator, you masturbate, and you summon the energy, and it will travel to them.
So I like your style.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I really do. I like where does it come from to be so direct?
Growing up in New Jersey and having direct parents who tell it like it is. I don't think we have that West Coast vibe where we like circle around what we want. We just like, do you want me or don't you,
Yeah, I think I have a lot of that. I'm from the Chicago area. I attribute it to my double Aries in my chart, being very, very direct, and my parents for sure too, because like my dad is like this very like blunt, straightforward person. My mom much more quiet. It makes things just go so much faster. And it feels like maybe you probably do everything fast too. Is that also a character trait of yours?
Yes, my assistant's on the couch right now because I moved too fast. She has a migraine from me. I'm a double Gemini with the Venus in Aries. And so...
Oh yeah, communication, baby.
Like this, But I also was an assistant at one time and I worked my ass off, In those days, we were afraid we'd lose our jobs. Today, they're not afraid, the kids. But it's very different times. And I think when you're direct like that, it offends men sometimes. So you sometimes have to take it down a notch and be a little more beta when you're dating. It doesn't really work like in dating, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Please tell me more about that.
Well, an alpha man, because I don't like beta men, alpha men tend to like beta women. But that doesn't mean you're not going to be alpha in situations like if he gets sick or loses his job and you have to take over because you're a partnership. But generally men are repulsed by like in your face, that they don't really like the strong leadership person, like the CEO of a corporation. So they're the women at the top are always getting divorced or left for the younger, pretty, mousy girl who doesn't speak up.
I've wondered, because I'm definitely not beta. I'm alpha. I'm direct. I'm the strong personality. And I've often wondered, like, are a lot of people settling for an agreement, a silent agreement relationship where, like, let's say hypothetically, but exists a lot, is like there's a woman who's, beautiful. She doesn't really, maybe she doesn't do that much, contribute that much money, or like, very successful and makes a lot of money. I mean, this is a common thing. And like maybe he's not that faithful. And maybe she's also not that pure in love, and that like maybe she goes and buys whatever she wants with his money. And
yeah, there's an agreement.
There's a silent agreement almost, right? Like a lot of times.
He wants to feel like he's in his masculine, his superior. And she's saying, well, if you want my beauty and sexuality, then you got to pay for it. But the problem is there's more women in college now. And there's more women really working on their careers and rising to the top because the men are not stepping up to pay the bills. And it takes more than 2 to 3 incomes. So you'll see a strong woman with a man who can't pay, who doesn't have any money. And then she'll come in, he'll love it. Oh, she paid the bills, she's sexy, she's strong, she's this. And then he'll start to resent her. So then you've got the other side of the street where the woman's like, I don't know how to be successful, but I need a man to be successful. And then she uses her beauty and sexuality. And sometimes she loses her looks and he leaves her for someone else. You see these CEOs leaving for the secretary because they spend a lot of time together. Or she's like in the case of Jeff Bezos, she went for an underling who was the teacher and they ended up breaking up probably because he couldn't understand her world. It's a catch-22, but there are a lot more women than men in the United States. And the average age of marriage is 29. It's really getting worse and worse. The men don't feel they need to get married anymore. And the men are like, oh, you make money, you buy me dinner. You call me on the phone, you ask me out. It's a real clusterfuck because nobody knows who they are. Women want to be women, men think they want to be men, but they want the privileges of a woman.
I find it to be very confusing out there as a woman who's strong and successful. And if you listen to any of the behavioral psychology of dating, it would say I'm screwed. You're in that same group.
You
are successful, you're attractive, you have money,
you're gorgeous, you're smart, you have your own money. But here's the thing, you got to level up. Because you're metaphysical like I am. You believe in law of attraction and all that stuff. You got to level up, but you might wait periods before the next one comes in. I mean, I know who your exes are and all that stuff, but I didn't study it like that. I'm studying you as vibrational frequency that says, if I want it, it's there. You've gotten everything you've ever wanted. So now just think about it. You want this man who loves you and your compatibility and your one and your synchronicity. Yeah. He's there. He's seeking you like you're seeking him. You just got to level up and put yourself in situations where they're.
Stress is a common factor that affects everyone in today's fast-paced world, leading to various issues. What if the answer to a better stress response is in a key nutrient? I'm talking about magnesium. Actually, I'm specifically talking about Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. This one-of-a-kind product is designed to reverse low levels of magnesium, which could be leading to a multitude of other health problems. What sets Magnesium Breakthrough apart is its ability to support healthy levels of stress hormones like cortisol, a better balanced stress response in your nervous and hormone systems, and healthy production of GABA, the relaxing neurotransmitter, leading to a more peaceful and better flow state. That's why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. It's the only organic full-spectrum magnesium supplement that includes 7 unique forms of magnesium for stress resilience and better sleep, all in one bottle. Simply go to bioptimizers.com/prettyintense. In addition to the discount you get by using promo code PrettyIntense, there are always amazing gifts with purchase. Go now to bioptimizers.com/prettyintense and get your Magnesium Breakthrough and find out this month's gift with purchase.
And sometimes you don't really, I have a new fragrance. Did you get my fragrance? Okay, so I sent you a fragrance kit, a matchmaker fragrance kit. I have different fragrances for men and women, gay or straight. I decided that women were having a really hard time finding love. So I created a pheromone fragrance, not a regular fragrance, with the eye of love people who I've worked with before. You basically spray here and on your heart chakra and your wrist and you go. If the smell goes away, it doesn't matter. The pheromone's still working. And then we created candles, massage candles with a spat with the pheromone in it. And we have gay, straight, fluid. But it was like spray it and let the men come to you. Then your situation in that case, your job is to vet who's good and who's bad. Because if you keep getting the same bad one, we've got epigenetics, we have ancestral trauma as far as ancestral lineage, we have childhood trauma, we have all these things subconsciously ruling the street. But if I could get the men to circle you, your job is to vet wisely. And that's why I created it.
So is the fragrance almost like an energetic mantra of how you're supposed to work, how you're supposed to operate in your life? Meaning, like, I'm looking at it like almost like how I look at crystals or intentional jewelry. Is like, it's something to say like, okay, now I'm going to let them come to me. And that way you don't like reach or try. And
that's
then
when you're in your beta. You're in your beta when you're letting them come to you. So when you go to work and you're alpha and you have to switch to beta, so to be more feminine in your feminine for his masculine to rise. When you're in your feminine, his masculine's rise. So then you use this because you don't have to do anything. It's doing the work for you. And the problem was people could not switch from alpha to beta and the men were repulsed. They ran away. And that's one of the reasons. Now, also, we have it for gay people too. But the point I'm making is that you're most potent as a woman when you're still.
That's right.
That's science. That's the alchemy of attraction. I can't change that. It's the way the DNA was programmed.
We should leave it up to the man it's like genetically embedded into their programming to hunt.
Correct. You want a hunter. You want a man that goes, I want you, let's go. Think about all your boyfriends you had. Did most of them hunt you?
Yeah. I mean, at some point,
and that's why you got in a relationship. Didn't mean it lasted. You probably had a rendezvous, before you incarnated into this incarnation. And maybe you weren't to be together forever. Maybe it was just like you had a lot of relationships because you're crashing with all that karma that you had prior to other incarnations. But
all of those ones you think are twin flames that were actually karmic, and you're like,
I don't really believe in twin flames. I don't really believe in soulmates. I believe in life mates. We've had so many lifetimes, this planet, other planets. So they all go on the Akasha records, and then when you come together right for an incarnation, you decide who you're going to be with. But that doesn't mean they're evolved. So let's say you're involved and your vibration's really high, but you meet one of these guys that's on your list and he's low frequency and you're trying to help him rise up. You're the teacher. It can go backwards. But right now you're sick of teaching and you just want compatibility and synchronicity. You can have that. When you are in your flow and you're saying, usually when you get a guy is when you made a decision. I'm never going to get a guy who's broke again. I'm never going to date a guy who doesn't put me first. I'm never going to date a guy who's not local. And I'm not going to have a long distance relationship. You make a decision. It gets a little wonky at first because the universe will give you guys who you're attracted to that don't have what you actually just said. But eventually you're like, no, I can spot the narcissist a mile away and I'm not dating another narcissist. You know what I mean? And that's like, yeah, I know, I've been there. My father was a narcissist, so I get it. My last one too. So when you date these guys, you're getting information and evidence of what you don't want and you're leveling up. But now you're at a place, because I can read your vibration right now. You're at a place where you're like, I just want this or get out of my way. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. It's exhausting.
It definitely needs to flow. Like, it took a long time to finally get to the point where I was like able to put myself first. I think that that's what needed to happen, was putting my relationship with myself first. And that way I could attune to my own frequency. And then I know when someone takes me out of it. And I know when I'm compromising on myself, because I was just used to compromise so much. And that makes me helps me read the situation much quicker.
And the thing is, I'd rather stay home, watch a good program on television, or wash my hair, or do whatever I'm doing, taking a bath or meditating, than go on a bad date. So God said, I'm going to give you 1 date a year and he's going to be amazing. But instead of 50,000 dates to keep your dance card, you're going to take that one date. That one date is worth the wait.
Most definitely. So
it's very hard when you're a woman that's strong and you're alone and you've been through it all. It's very hard. But eventually I see every one of these women get what they want. Eventually.
Well, and the tipping point to doing that is just time, or is there an actual, is it what you're saying about?
In when we're talking about manifestation, the girls today that are younger are in a state of certainty because they don't know that, they haven't been through the war like you and I have. So when they haven't been through the war, they have like no concept of what could happen. So they are like, I'm going to get it no matter what. I'm going to be Kim Kardashian no matter what. Like, they're doing this on TikTok and Lucky Girl Syndrome and all that. But the generation that I come from, and I'm older than you, is letting go. So you've worked your ass off. You did the meditations in the morning. You walked around the block and affirmed. And you've taken every ounce of every being to manifest. You're in a state of flow. But he hasn't shown up. You would let go at that point. You'd say, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to move my mind to something else, maybe my career, maybe my health, whatever it is, traveling, whatever. And then they usually show up when you let go.
Exactly right. I mean, I even had a mantra at one point in time, like late at the end of last year. It was like, I was like, 1 out, 2 in. And it was like, okay, this is a lot of juggling now.
And it's hard to date like multiple people. Especially, like men do this for years. They date like, we always say women date like a man, like the Steve Harvey thing, which was, I would say, date a pair and a spare. Because the top guy's the one you want, the middle guy's the cusper, and the third one's like the friend that you could take to a function or event. And they're always going to rotate. I said, but if you date 3 a week, you're exhausted by the end of the week. You don't have time to think about dating. You're like vomit dating, like that. And usually one of them will pop and say, I want you.
Yeah. And is it up to them then?
No, it's up to you to decide. This is the problem. Women are not good at asking for what they want. Women take the shit because they think that's all they can deserve. But the universe only gives you the love you think you deserve. So you have to change your thoughts. You have to come up with, okay, so I don't feel enough. I don't feel good about myself. Well, now I have to change that. And your inner work is really where it all stems from. Because if you go into the inner, it's going to change the subconscious, which is the bus driver to where you're going. And everything will just shift. But it's work, it's process, it's repetition. It's every day getting into bed. It's 5 minutes in the morning. I don't know. Did you have Dr. Tara on your show yet? Source? Oh my God, she's so perfect for you. So she's amazing. She's a neuroscientist like Dispenza, like Lipton, but she breaks it down for us in smaller terms.
Yeah.
5 minutes in the morning with a little gratitude. And if you can't think of anything grateful, you go, I love my bed. I love my pillows. I love I had a good night's sleep. Then you go into what you want. You taste, feel, touch, and you let it go. The other was doing it for 5 minutes on a Saturday, and I had nothing to do that day. I ended up doing it for 2 hours, not realizing it. I just flowed with it. It's different than meditation because it's not clearing your mind. It's programming your mind. Your mind doesn't know which is imagined or which is real.
Right.
So the mind's job is to keep you safe. That's the bad part. The software is broken. So we're still in the age of the dinosaur. So they're afraid. So when you get a new guy in your mind that you like, they're like, whoa, this is really not good. You were in 7th grade. You told me you never wanted to fall in love. Your boyfriend broke up with you. Well, we're going to have to go back to 7th grade because the program says I will give you a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you're like, no, I'm going to override that program and change the program to that. Yes, I want X. So the more repetition you give it of the taste, feel, and touch, maybe you're in your house making love. Maybe you're going to dinner. Maybe you're traveling with the guy, go walking on the beach. The more the mind gets familiar with it. And when he does show up, they're like, oh, there's the thing that you wanted. Here we go.
The quickest I ever manifested anything was, which is a story to articulate what you're saying about feeling it and being in it, was at a quick little one-day Joe Dispenza event at the end of 2020. Mm-hmm. And it was to think about what you wanted. It could be anything. It'd be like a car, a shopping spree, or a trip, or whatever, a guy, I don't know, whatever you want. And write the letter down to represent it. And then think of like 5 reasons why, and then 5 elevated emotions having accomplished it. And at the end of the meditation, we went into this and you pictured it. And so it's about 5 o'clock when we're doing this. And we sit down to dinner. It's 7 o'clock. And a girl next to me reaches over and taps me on the shoulder. And she goes, I heard you're interested in Egypt. And I was like, yeah, did you know what I wrote down? And she was like, no. She said, I don't know. She goes, but this girl over here said you were talking about it earlier today. And there's a trip in February if you want to go. And I was like, I looked across the table at Joe and I was like, that took 2 hours, 2 hours. Because the magic is like, from a quantum perspective, right? You get into the actual visceral feeling of actually having it. So like walking around your house and feeling like however you want to feel having it, or visualizing it in meditation. And I really felt it. And you'll always get an emotional response, right? You'll cry, you'll smile.
You don't care whether you got the trip. So I do this thing at the end of my seminars where we do the flower trick, and I put chocolate under the chair and some candies if you can't eat chocolate. And I say, okay, everybody just take the chocolate, don't eat it. Put it in your hands. They smell it. They're like dying. It's after lunch. They want a sweet something. And they put it in their mouth. They circle around. You hear the whole audience go, And then I go, okay, meditation time. We're going into what you want. Feel gratitude. Go in. I said, you're going to manifest flowers, only flowers. I don't care where they come from. Doesn't matter how you get them. Every person by the end of the week says they got flowers because they don't care whether they got it or not.
Yeah,
you die if you didn't get the Egypt trip.
No, I asked myself if it took 2 years, exactly. I don't care. I was like, oh, well, in a couple of years, it's like, I'll wait for the right trip.
That's why. But if you want a man, it's a different story because you really don't want to die alone. And you have these ideas like, oh, I need to be with a man. Oh, I love a man. Oh, I'm lonely, there's so much loneliness going on post-pandemic. It's a love pandemic. And so then you go, oh shit, that's the hard part. But if I'm doing a business deal, but then again, if I'm sick and I've got cancer and I'm scared, that's like the man. So there are things you really, really want. And then there are things you're like, I don't care if I get it. If I get it, I get it. I don't care. Right.
So how do you bridge the gap then for those things that you really, really want so that you can free up the energy?
You have to, it's something really hard to do, but it can be done. You have to live in your inner world as opposed to your outer world. So anytime anyone throws you off the outer, like, oh, you know what? You're never going to meet anyone. You're too old. You're not pretty enough. There are no men are not interested in you. Like, somebody says something like a comment like that, you take it in and you can't take it in. Or you got cancer, you have stage 4 cancer and you're going to die. And the Magical Fungi movie on Netflix, the guy who owned the farm of all the mushrooms.
Fantastic Fungi?
Yeah, he got the...
Paul Stamets?
Right. His mother got the stage 4 cancer, right?
Yep.
He gave her tiger tail and she lived.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
think about that. That's like unheard of, right? Because the universe is showing you there are other treatments outside chemo, which pretty much killed my mother. Wouldn't do, she wouldn't do West. She totally
Holistic
into
was-
Western and not Eastern philosophy. I was begging her to do it. She wouldn't do it. And so the universe is showing her there are other options. And she got out of fear and she lived. And the point of the story is that the fear is what's driving your resistance. What is the fear? So you have to write down, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid to be alone? Are you afraid to die? Like, what's your fear?
Yeah.
And then when you realize the fear is ridiculous, you got to debunk the fear and go, well, my best friend tells me I'm too fat to find love. Show me evidence, universe, of women who are not as pretty and as attractive to me who found love and got married. Universe will show it in 10 seconds. That's the reticulating activating system. If they show you, if you want the red car, you're going to see red cars everywhere, right? Once she sees that, she's like, wait, Susie in England got married and she's twice the size of me. If she could get a guy like that, so can I. And that's how you kind of do it. You kind of dumb it down. You get really general with it. And then eventually you're like the person that can get it. And I've seen this like with every one of my clients. I see this all the time. I go to them, what are you afraid of about love? What do you think is blocking you? I teach a course with Kathleen Cameron, Love and Money. You can go into my Instagram if you want to jump on it. It's a webinar every week. And I do the love part. And everyone has a reason why they can't find love. Even me, I did it for myself. I said, okay, I don't think I can find it. I said, but why can't I find it? There are millions of people on the planet. I don't know who I'm going to meet tomorrow. So I started to undo the belief system. And the belief is a fear. The fear of what I want doesn't exist. The fear of it exists and he can't find me. You have to write it out. And once you look at it, you're like, that's the stupidest thing in the world. You undo the stupidity of a stupid statement you probably made when you were a child because something went wrong with mommy or daddy. That's basically it. And if it's not, it could be an epigenetic situation, an ancestral trauma where I'm adopted. I just found out my biological father was an orphan and a famous composer through Ancestry.com that I've never met. He's dead. But there's an ancestral lineage, like we were left, we were abandoned. My father who raised me was an addict, alcoholic. And I find out my biological mother was the same ancestral lineage, yet I don't drink. So I'm breaking the karmic pattern of the ancestral lineage so that I don't keep attracting these people who want me to heal them because I'm the giver and I usually attract the taker. My last boyfriend was my dad wound. Like the wound that my dad caused me, a lot of problems. He was the exact replica, only I didn't realize it till the end of the year when we broke up. That's the work. So when someone says like, oh, okay, you've never been married. I've been engaged. I have plenty of women and men asking me out. They're not the right one. And I'm not that picky. It's more about compatibility, chemistry, communication, security, I think kind. I want a kind man. I haven't seen a kind man. So, except for my grandfather. So then what you do is you look at the patterns that you have. When I was doing Kenya Moore on Bravo on Atlanta Housewives, I said, there's a common theme that every guy has done you. What is it? Every guy had cheated on her. And her fear was the guy would cheat on her. And what happened? Her husband cheated on her.
Are you attracting the kind of person that's going to do that, or are you actually creating the scenario? What do you think?
Well, I think
I've thought about this.
I think it's a combination. I think you're attracting it because you want to break the karma. But then I also think you're creating it by your actions in daily life. Like there's the outer world, we go out in public and we do all these things. But then there's the inner mechanism. And if we can break the chain, the cord on the inner side by living in the inner, like we're in a matrix, we have all these lifetimes, they're all happening at the same time. It's a simulation. There has to be a lifetime at the same time where you're having an amazing loving experience, correct? We want to jump to that quantum lifetime and get rid of this lifetime. And it's a subtle switch. It's not a big like, oh, I jumped like in Quantum Leap on TV. It's completely different. But if you can do that, which I've seen people do, and there's also the belief system. Like Marisol, who's one of my friends on Housewives of Miami, she had a really bad love life. And she went through hell. And it was a pandemic. She called me every day, have her cocktails in her gay friend's pool. And one day a man came in to buy the house. She didn't pay attention to him. And he bought the house. And about a month or two later, after escrow, he found her red bathing suit in the pool house, called the gay couple up and said, Who's bathing suit? They say, oh, that's Marisol. You should meet her. Now it's the pandemic. You can't date. You can't go out. He meets her. They become inseparable. They end up getting married. And she was not in a good place. So this illusion, you have to be happy all the time and keep your vibration up, is a bunch of bunk. So I said to her, why do you were so negative? How did you get love? She goes, my mom died right before that. I knew my mom would go up to heaven and get me a man. The crack in the ceiling, see? And the belief system changed because the belief is I'm negative, but mom will get it for me.
She's like, it's on its way. She knew it was on its way.
And she had no doubt.
She stopped trying. She stopped feeling negative about it. She let go.
You know, and then there's Vicky on Housewives, who's a good friend of mine too, on Housewives of Orange County. Steve was treating her like shit. Everybody knows that they watch Girls Trip. She couldn't get out of bed. She's calling me, crying. And I said, did you ever make a list of what you wanted? And she goes, no. I go, I want you to make a list. And on that list, the top of the list has to be the man has more money than even takes care of you. Patti, I've never had that. All my husbands I had to take care of. I said, I don't give a flying fuck. Write it. She writes it down. She gets out of off the show. She goes home and Kelly Dodd says, come out for drinks with me. The next day, they meet Michael. Michael has everything she wanted on the list. And at the bottom of the list, it says, I want someone who line dances out of cowboy boots. I mean, weird, quirky shit. Kind of like Practical Magic when they made the spell that they never thought could be one color's one eye and the other different. Remember with Aiden on Practical Magic and Sandra Bullock? It's a good, cute little movie. So that when they're little girls, they make a spell because there's a curse that all the women are cursed and they will never find love. But we're going to make a spell. We're going to break the curse. And it's going to be like, it was so crazy that nobody could show up like that. And Aiden shows up, the cop, like that. So the bottom line, she made the list. Great guy. I even knew he dated one of my friends. Very generous. Nothing like the exes. Nothing.
My recommendation to people always, and I'm curious what the psychology or the energy of this is that like, I'd really turn inward and just do fun stuff. I go like, what do I want to do? It's not that I don't want a man. It's just that I get planning so much fun and so many trips and fun work stuff that I essentially forget or don't think about guys. I'm just like on my fun plan. And it's like, I got a girls trip here and then there. And it's like all of a sudden then you're like, oh shit.
If you're in the fun zone, like you just created, I like traveling. You know, you probably like driving your cars. Like if a new car comes out, I'm sure a car company calls you up, say, hey, Danica, can you give me a spin? And you might not think of it as work. You might think it as like, oh, I'm trying a new whatever kind of car you drive, right? That's the perfect place to be because when you're at your highest frequency is when you're in fun. So when you're in fun factor, that's magnetic to men. Just put yourself in a man's situation. Like, don't go to yoga class, which is 90% female, in the fun zone and expect, you know, Prince Charming to walk in through the door and see 100 women. You still got to put yourself where men are. It doesn't mean a lot. You know, like you're in an industry that's male dominated. So you meet men all the time, not to say you're going to date them, but it does give you that masculine feel. Like you know how to talk to a man, you know how to be with a man. Some women don't know that. They're always with women. They have jobs with women. They come home to women. They're single moms raising children, and they don't really have that factor. But the fun factor raises the vibration to make you magnetic to the opposite sex. That is very true.
Yeah, I find that that's when it happens the easiest. What do you recommend for people when they go on dates? Like what is like, is there rules for the dates? I feel like when I watch the show, it's like there are certain rules for it.
Well,
like are they just show stuff or is there
No, I have a 2-drink maximum. I personally don't drink. I've been sober for 10 years, but I never had an addiction problem. I get headaches, migraines. So I've 10 years sober. So one of the rules I say is even if a guy can hold his liquor, if he goes past 2 drinks, he's a drinker, like an alcoholic or a functioning alcoholic. He's too much. He shouldn't be going past 2 drinks with you. No sex before monogamy. Legs are closed. Man must pay the bill if he asked you out. I don't recommend women asking men out. So if he goes, hey, you want to split up 50-50? Say, no, I'm sorry. You asked me out. Or go to the bathroom, tell the maitre d' you're going out if you feel like danger and go out the back. Because a lot of guys are going, ooh, I want a 50-50 girl. She's successful. No, men pay the bill. The other thing is when your conversation starts to heat up and he asks you like, maybe what's your last relationship like? Or what, if you say, they go, why are you single? Say, you know what? My last boyfriend wanted to marry me or so-and-so wanted to marry me. He just wasn't the one. Why are you single? Like, in other words, flip it. And otherwise you can say, oh, I've been engaged, I've had relationships, I'm looking for the right person, but I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about you. When you go to a guy who wants to talk about you, he lights up like a Christmas tree. And the last thing you can ask him is, how do you resolve conflict in a relationship? Because the way they tell you how they resolve conflict is usually how they are in the relationship. If he's a screamer, you're not going to want him. If he's a runner, you're not going to want him. If he's a grudge holder, you're not going to want him. And he will say words that trip him up.
The money thing falls into my lap quite a bit of there's not a lot of guys that have more money than me.
Oh, and also I see it on the apps. There's no doctors, lawyers. They're not like guys who are successful. So you can Spokio him, which is an app where you can do background checking him to make sure his LinkedIn and all that stuff is perfect. You're going to have to do assessment on the money. If you were referred by a matchmaker, they would tell you. So match is probably the best place to do. I'm using one of my friends in New York who's a national matchmaker. And she's screening men with money because I can't date down anymore. It's cost me every one of my relationships. And I didn't think it was a big deal. And now
you don't think it's a big deal, but they do eventually.
My last boyfriend said he was intimidated by my success. I never knew it. He wrote it on text to me at the end. And I was heartbroken because I didn't know, because he never said it. And he went out for almost a year. And by the way, I wasn't working. I lost 3 jobs in the pandemic. I didn't know if I was ever going to get back on TV again. And my new show, Patti Stanger and the Matchmaker on CW, was a fluke. I didn't know that network was going to come to me and offer me a show. I was like, I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to go into the product business, which I did with I Have Love. I'm going to, work on writing a book. I was going to go into things that I wanted to do that I didn't have the time before, but they weren't money makers immediately.
Yeah.
I invested well, but I wasn't flaunting my money and going crazy. I drive a nice Porsche, I live in a nice house, but I wasn't going psycho here. And it's not like I want the $20 million man. I'm asking for or the $100 million. I'm asking for a guy who's good with his money. We go on vacation twice a year. Birthday present. I'm really low key. I'm a homebody. I love to cook. So I'm not looking for Mr. Private Plane. It would be nice. But some of those guys are dicks, and they come with a personality which is so controlling.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about them. And that's narcissist,
Do you think that if the money's in balance where the man doesn't have the money and the woman does, do you think it's just an eventual deal breaker?
I think if he's good with his money and you get what you want out of him, maybe it's not Birkin, Prada, whatever, but you're getting decent stuff and he's generous with his money and he's not intimidated by your success, it can work. Yeah, but it can't work if you're dating the pool guy. You know what I mean? There's a big gap.
Yeah.
But if he's got a business, maybe someday he's going to sell it, or he's a doctor or a lawyer or whatever he is, and you're proud of what he does. I was proud of my last boyfriend. He was in the health industry. He's proud of what he does. Then there should be no issues. It's just when you get petty, I need you to pay for this, that. You don't want to pay the mortgage. You don't want to pay the utilities. I'm cooking all week and buying the groceries. He should be taking me out at least once a week.
What if it's the other way around? What if it's, how does a man really know that a woman loves him if he has money? And how does the woman really know that the man loves her and it's not just there for her looks or something like that?
First of all, it's about kindness, compassion, and consideration. So if you're sick, like you had COVID and he didn't take care of you, next. If he... you have a problem and he doesn't want to listen. The Gottman Institute talk about this. Resentment will breed breakup, whether you're in a marriage or in a relationship. And you have to listen. But you can say, my husband's a little long-winded. He's got a problem. Hey, honey, I only have 20 minutes to talk. Do you think you could talk to me and vent to me in 20 minutes? And would you like me to help you? Or if a woman's venting, can I just have you listen for 5 minutes? Is this a good time? You got to be accountable to what everybody's going through as well. I think if people do nice things for you and go out of your way, you're at the grocery store, you find your favorite hot sauce. Honey, I bought you your favorite hot sauce. You know that hot sauce that you can't find anywhere else? I saw it. I grabbed it. Little things go a long way. My love language is touch and gifts. You have to find out what your love language is. But even if they're opposite each other, as long as you do each other's love language, you're fine.
Yeah,
it's people take you for granted and don't do that.
That's true. I've told many in the past, I'm like, mine is physical touch too. And I'm like, if you just hug me, pretty much takes care of everything. I will diffuse. I will settle, simmer. Everything will be okay. I just need a hug. Okay.
Right.
I just need a hug.
And you just want someone to say, it's going to be okay. Come here. It's going to be okay. We're going to get this together. At the end of the day, you know, when you're old and your body's not working, you want to sit on the porch, drink iced tea, and look at the sunset together. Like, that's what everybody's really looking for. They're not going to think about how many Birkin bags and Rolls Royces they got. It's not going to work on your deathbed. You're going to think about the feeling. What does the love that came your way really mean? And if it's somebody who was transactional, it's not going to work.
What about age gaps?
Well, you know, I was looking at Brad Pitt dating half years, you know, younger. Well, they're both fresh off divorces. So maybe it's a starter relationship, but eventually she's going to get bored and pull a Kevin Costner in. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think of that. I know that if I look at Amal and George, it's an extraordinary experience because he said, I'd never meet anybody like that again. And she is fighting for humanitarian rights. So there was maybe a 14, 15. She said, you want to marry me? These are the rules. I want kids. He didn't really want kids.
Right.
But now he loves his children. Who's not going to love two children that are part of you? So in some ways it works, but it sometimes it doesn't, like Demi and Ashton. I said the minute it happened, I said, oh, it's not going to work, because it really doesn't work the other way around with a woman and a man. Yet we've seen, who's the director and the actor, Sam, and I forget her name. I think she's the Full Metal Jacket director. She married a kid, basically. A kid. He's like 20. I think he's even in his 20s still, if not early 30s. And then I go, okay, well, it works for them. Maybe that's a karmic relationship from the past. Who am I to judge? There are unusual. Look, I look at Jacqueline, not Jackie Collins, Joan Collins. He's way younger than her. They're British. It works. He's crazy about her.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. It depends on the situation. I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think everybody's like a snowflake and no relationships are the same. But some people you will go, that's going to fall apart. I knew it.
That's because you're intuitive and you can see more than most.
We look at the housewives, and I knew who every person was going to get divorced. Everyone. Like today, Dorit made a statement. I'm like, well, that was old news. You know, like you can see it
At 1,000.
Yeah, the way they talk to each other was like when Paul and his wife were on NASA, and Adrian was like talking negatively. I'm like, oh, this is so good. It's the Gottman Institute. If you study
it's the four horsemen. The four, what is it? The four horsemen.
Apocalypse of the four horsemen. Yeah. But I was like, it was example. Like you see it visually in an example. It was scary. And yet we talked, and I said, he went very young and he wanted the most gorgeous girl in the world. And I said, well, why don't you find somebody you really like who's compatible? And he went for a girl that was younger, but she is compatible and she's not gorgeous. She's not movie star gorgeous. And he's a plastic surgeon and a really nice guy. So everybody's different. You have to see what works for you. Does this feel cool? Do you feel old when you're with them? No, then it's a no.
Right. What are like the compatibility buckets, right? If it's not necessarily always money or age or
it's routine. What is your routine? Do you want someone that exercises because you exercise? Do you want someone that likes to stay home during the week and not go out and barbecue and nestle up and watch TV? Like, what is your routine? That is compatibility. Interests, yes. But there might be interests he has that you don't have. And you go, oh, I'd love to learn. Like I put on my bucket list of skiing. I've never skied. So I was like, I've never skied till this day. It's so weird. And I said, I want a guy who skis so he can teach me how to ski, you know? Maybe a guy has a fantasy about kart driving, you know, race car. He meets you, Danica, and he's like, oh my God, she's the queen. I want her to teach me. Or you get in a car, you know, but you usually have things you do have in common, and then usually things you want to have in common. And sometimes they teach you. And then there are things you don't have in common. I don't play golf. Let him go play golf. It's just having enough in common. Like you go on a date, first date, you go, I have nothing in common. Don't go back.
Yeah.
You don't keep going and beating a dead horse just because he's cute or has money. If you don't have anything in common and he's bored you on the dinner and you were thinking about, you know, what Instagram is showing.
So do you think you know on the first date?
The higher your 2 minute to elevation, the higher you are aware. Usually with wisdom as you get older, you'll know. But when you're younger, you don't know because you're drinking and partying and having a good time. As you get older, you're like, okay, I can spot that's my ex-husband. I'm out of here.
For me, it's like within the first like 20 minutes, you you usually know if you have chemistry? To me, it's always like you feel chemistry first. Do you feel like you look at the person and
But
like there's
wait a
something
second.
happening and
Wait a second. I got to tell you.
they're
So my,
interesting?
my last boyfriend, I wasn't attracted to on the date or on the phone. And I was like, no, I'm never going to go out with him again. So we get to the ballet and he takes the ticket and he pays. That's like 10 points in LA because nobody does that. And then he said, what are you doing Saturday? And I was like, because I was thinking of getting out of it. And he goes, do you want to go to the Dodger game? And that was kind of my bucket list. I wanted to go to the Dodger game. I hadn't been to one. I said, okay, yeah, I'll go for fun. Just, I don't think he's my boyfriend. As I'm getting in my car, he kisses me and I felt, what the fuck was that? So I didn't feel it on the date, but I felt it after, and he ended up and he pursued me hard. He had game. He had serious game. And he was out of shape, and I thought, he's got a cute face. I can take 20 pounds of him, which I did. Redid his wardrobe, put him on Instagram, never doing that again. The girls came. I think his girlfriend's like a Bravo addict, his new girlfriend. The point of the story was that I didn't know. Sometimes you don't know. You're not psychic, and you don't know what's going to happen when he touches you or kisses you or his smell. The smell, it could be intoxicating. So be open to that. Don't put it all like, nope, nope, nope. See how it goes towards the end of the date. See how he ends it. Did he give you a hug? Did it feel good? If it didn't, no. But if it felt good, you might be like, woo, I didn't see that coming. There are surprises in dating.
I've heard that someone's pheromones are the way that they smell. If you don't notice or you don't mind, you're very compatible. Like there's a biological compatibility happening.
Yeah, it goes back to the caveman days where our DNAs crossed in some way. But like, I'll give you an example. I had a boyfriend once and I was allergic to his sperm. And I asked my doctor.
What happened to your vagina?
I said to my gynecologist, what's going on? He said, he's probably from your DNA, because we're both dark hair, blue eyes. She goes, he's probably from your DNA family. And the DNAs are not supposed to be inbred. They're supposed to cross.
It's like an incest thing.
And she said it's common, very common.
What was the if I can ask,
it's like, vaginal vaginosis and all that shit that comes with it. And so I thought he was cheating on me, and he wasn't. It was the DNA. We checked it. The sperm. I was allergic to the sperm. It was the only one I've ever allergic to. But we look like alike. We both had dark hair, blue eyes. We both German background. It was like similar, and so the DNA probably was the same. And you're not supposed to have incestual relations, basically.
Right. It always feels like guys don't want to be rushed in some way, and a girl dreams. And I usually put this down to the fact that not because it's so inherent, but because of the dynamic that essentially like a man tends to be the one that chooses a woman many times, and they also are the ones that propose, that there's this sort of like race to the line. When do you talk about the future?
6 months, he knows whether you're going to be it or not, especially if you want marriage. Where are you going? I think my ex said, we're going to have to live together. And I said, well, I'm old school. He says, I'll get you a ring and we'll get married. And I think that was about 5-6 months. 6 months, 9 months is negotiation, and a year you're engaged. And then I like to see 1 year you're together before you jump into everything, because people change, especially. I'm not a fan of living together, but if you have to, you must get a ring and a date set up. It's all in my book, Become Your Own Matchmaker on Amazon. Even the words how to get monogamy, because I always get monogamy. I don't recommend having sex until 90 days. Even if you're seeing them once or twice a week or 3 times a week, just give you monogamy. You must say, look, I'm not the kind of girl that fucks around. Like, the words are in my book. And he'll give you monogamy. He won't say, I need to drive the car before I buy it. But if he does say it, he's not your guy. You'll hear it. Oh, I'm dating other girls. I'm not ready to decide who I want to be with, especially if you're young. And you go, well, then I'm not your girl, because the guy that I want knows I'm it.
I feel like I've heard that guys need a purpose, and they need to like, there's the chase essentially, or like the hunt, but they also need like parameters. They need like a goal. They need almost like discipline in a way. And that feels like some of the things that fall under, like, I'm not going to move in with you until we're engaged. If you want to do that, then we can move forward. Or I'm not going to have sex with you until we're both monogamous. Or, and I feel like you're qualifying monogamous as maybe a time frame, but
monogamy can be on the first date. I only want you, you're the only one. And he will show up like that. Monogamy
you'll know.
can be 90 days, where you're taking your time and you're building. Maybe one of you've gotten hurt and were burned before and you want to go slow. That's also monogamy. But it'll come to the point where before you have sex, you must declare that you're only sleeping with each other and you're in a relationship. And, I put the words in the book, the actual physical words, but basically it's very simple. If he wants to protect and provide and take care of you, you will know. And if he doesn't, you won't want to sleep with him unless you're just using him for, situationship, which is terrible because the situationship breeds, oxytocin. And he doesn't have oxytocin until he falls in love. And a man doesn't fall in love through sex. They fall in love emotionally. Women fall in love through sex, touch, taste, and feel.
How interesting, that dynamic.
They feel in love emotionally. When I was dating my ex, he said to me, "You were the only girl I ever felt emotionally connected to. All my other relationships were sexual." It's not that we weren't sexual. It's just that I brought something out of him that made him feel close. And that's the thing you want. You want to bring out the closeness in him, the intimacy, so they don't leave you, they don't abandon you, and you are the one they want. Those are the ones they swim mountains, climb mountains, swim rivers, etc.
Yeah, I've thought many times about the whole, you can't change someone and you can't mother them.
Well, that's what a lot of men want, are mothers that they fuck.
So this dynamic of, okay, I see something going on that I don't necessarily like, but instead of saying, why are you doing that? I don't like that. That. It's I've thought about how, because I've seen this happen for myself in my life with friends or family that I support in this way. When I finally stop expecting them to do what I want them to do and I just love them right where they change. Everybody wants to be better, I think, inherently, but there's resistance when there's a push or someone telling them to do it. And so how do you handle it? It's something that you don't maybe like about them. Do you just love them anyway? Is it or is it something that you bring up?
I think you basically say, hey, listen, I'm a little uncomfortable about something. Do you have any time for me to talk? Then you go into, I really wish you would do this, but I don't understand how we can be better at X. And you sit down, and each take turns talking until you come to a mutual understanding and agreement. And if he can't mutually understand agreement, he's not considering your feelings. Then you have a problem, because you want him to consider your feelings. Same thing with his feelings when he's an issue with you. But you should be able to have one. Look, Jordan Peterson says you should be talking at least once a week about your dating, your problems, your relationship problems. If you're in a relationship and you're dating, or if you're married, whatever. Yeah. And then have date night on the weekends. If you can do that every week and make it consistency, you're home. You're home. There's nothing left to do. Life will still serve you curveballs. People will still get sick and lose jobs, and things will still happen. But you'll have that, let's sit down and talk, let's work out a plan, and then you go and have fun on date night. Men who are mature are quite different than teenage men, let alone they could be the same age. You could have a 65-year-old teenager. You have to figure out, is he a teenager, or is he a grown-ass man who's lived a life, raised children, gotten married, whatever. Or if he's a young kid, is he a wise old soul? And his mom and dad taught him how to treat a girl. Pull the cart, open the car door, make the reservation, whatever it is. You want a gentleman. Even if you're a feminist.
What about the inevitable heartbreak that ends up happening? What is the right thing to do for both parties after a breakup? Because it feels like sometimes the guys run and just go have sex with a bunch of people. A girl might do the same thing,
Men ghost, and they go to the next one quickly, and a woman grieves. Even though the woman might know the relationship's over before it happens, they tend to lick their wounds, go to psychology books, read therapy, watch YouTube programs, and whatnot. A man will go, oh no, I got to get laid again. I got to be treated. I need to know that women still like me and I still got it. So they go off to the next one. And you're heartbroken because you're thinking they never really loved you. No, that's how they're programmed. Ghosting has become disgusting. No one is talking about what happened. Why'd you do this? How did you know we were going to break up? Nobody gets their questions answered. And then they go to the next one with the same question mark, and the next one with it, and nobody's getting healed. The secret sauce is to talk about what happened.
Yeah.
And love them, but no, maybe they're not right for you, or they don't think you're right for them, and let them go with love and compassion and forgiveness. The forgiveness is the key, because the forgiveness is going to set you free. It's not about forgiveness. You're not going to forget what they did if they did something horrible, but the forgiveness to let them go is going to lead you to a better man or a better woman.
Yeah, ghosting's such a cowardly thing to do.
Oh my God, there's so many men who ghost. I don't even want to tell you. It's the most disgusting. And you wouldn't ghost your boss. So it's disgusting what people are doing.
I mean, do you think this is a product of the whole like loop? Good times create weak men create hard times create strong men create weak men. Good times create weak men, and the loop keeps going.
I don't know if it's good times. I think there's too many women who are desperate and aggressive to give men options. They have more options than they've ever had. I was just on Skinny Girl Confidential, and we were talking about how in the old days you had to walk up to a girl and get their number, and it was a lot of work, even though you got what you saw what you're getting. But it was like you couldn't have too many people in your head at once, because that would mean you have to go to 50 bars. Now it's like swipe, swipe, swipe. I have 5 apps on my phone, and you don't want to do what I want you to do. They're becoming narcissistic, and then they're just like, well, then I'll go to the next one.
Apps are dangerous, man. And I'm not just talking about dating apps, but I mean social media apps. And it feels like it overcomplicates relationships a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a very tough time for women. It's not easy. We have gotten smarter and stronger, but we're getting punished for it at the same time.
You think that men should be able to have girls as friends or follow girls on social media? That sort of like, I can have girls that are friends.
I'm not a fan of that unless they're married or something. Like if they're married and it was a girlfriend from 20 years ago and you double dated, whatever. But if you're looking at other women and you're like social media and going out with your girlfriends and you're a guy, no, I'm not a fan of that. That's just going to lead to more complications and more choices and more options. And then you're going to spend all your time texting and checking them out. That doesn't make your mean girl feel good. You want like she's the star of the party, not these other chicks. I think you need to give because even if you do, the new guy's going to smell that there's old, chaos from your past and say, we're not healthy yet to date. A healthy man will notice that. I
don't talk to any of my exes. I think that can scare a man. Like, oh shit, you're never going to talk to me again if this doesn't go well. It's like, no. And I also, I'm not talking to them either.
But have you been married? Married?
Yeah.
Real man is going to say, I want to take you off the market. That's why. Most real men know what they want at your age that you're dating. And they're in this place where it's like, I'm tired. I just want to snuggle up and call it a day. I can't tell you how many men are tired right now. I listen to them all the time. They just want what they want. And they're not running with the wolves as much. They're not in their 30s and 20s, I heard you talking about sex magic and I was like, go girl, go girl. I thought we'd get into like a little bit of the woo woo. I do sex magic for sure. So Patti and Nick is like the leading witch in the country. She's on Discovery Channel and she's my best friend and she's my teacher. And so we do magic on Fridays, which is Venus Day. When you're trying to summon a man, I should not giving my secrets away. Not only do we use the fragrance, but we light the candles, we bless the candles. I'm a Hecate. Hecate is my goddess. So I bring in Hecate energy into it. Somebody might be Venus or Aphrodite. And there are ways where you use your vibrator, you masturbate, and you summon the energy, and it will travel to them. Have you ever read the Madelyn manuscript? So the whole first part of the book, the Madelyn manuscript is about, the whole first part is channeled. And she explains how they... What's the woman who wrote that book? It's a Kenyan. It's a husband and wife. The Madelyn manuscript. I love books. Yeah. So the whole first section is a channeling. And she explains sex magic, how they learned it in the cult of Isis, and how, because back in ancient times, there was the cult of Horus, Isis. Like there were these like cults of these feminine deities and these goddesses that they taught. The women learned from each other and they learned magic, and magic was normal then. So she helped Jesus strengthen his ka body through sex by channeling in the energy and moving the energy. So you can do it with yourself or you can do it with somebody else, and it strengthens the field. Like their field. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to get that book. That sounds exciting. So who have you done it on? I do have a boyfriend now. So if I'm with him, or if it's me, just me. How did you tell us how you manifested the boyfriend then? Well, I was planning more fun. I just was like, I was in Aspen on a vacation for New Year's Eve, and I had all these trips planned, and
I had fun stuff going on, and I was just like hanging out and having a good time. And I was standing at the bar with a glass of red wine, not intending on drinking it because New Year's Eve was the night before, and I didn't know anybody there. And I was just standing there, and he walked up to me and started talking to me. Yeah, it was at a Bobby Kennedy fundraiser. But anyway, sex magic. I joked to him, I'm like, I manifested you, just so you know.
Will you get me that book right on Amazon? Thanks. My assistant's getting it from you.
Because you just imagine what you want. Yeah, you just imagine what you want. That's all I did. My sex magic is I just like picture what I want or how I want to feel. And I move the energy. When you orgasm, you move the energy up your spine, all the way up, and it boosts the frequency of it.
Yeah, it raises the Kundalini.
Yeah.
And so Mary taught Jesus, you were saying, at some point?
I can't remember exactly if I think she kind of did, but more than anything, she just used sex magic to strengthen his ka body, like the field around him. So strengthen his whole energy field.
Casey says when he rose up, they moved to France, they got married, and they had 2 children, and one of them ended up in the royal family of France. Yeah.
They do. I've heard that he moved on. They went down to France.
The reward was that God gave him a human life. That was beautiful. That's what I heard. They had 2 girls.
And that he ended up dying in India was what I have heard.
He used to study all the other comparative religion like Buddhism and Hinduism.
I had heard the story that he was in India. He met a woman and was like, I'll come back. Had to come back to the Middle East, did what he did, had his children with Mary, and then fulfilled his promise.
God, he was a player? Jesus was a player.
I don't know. This is one of the stories.
Jesus was a player. Who knew?
Was he just an upstanding man and did what he said he was going to do?
A nice Jewish boy, a player. Who would have thought? Right?
I feel like we're just so untapped in this sort of witchy world of.
Well, I'm an alchemist. You know, like I've had some bad heck. I worked for a very famous psychic at one point. She was a dark little witch and she did some shit to me. I was very young, tried to make me lesbian. It's a whole story. And I will write a book one day on my experience. But as I got older and I worked with other witches, you have to be careful when you work with witches that they don't cross you. So their heart's not pure. There's black and, white magic. So my best friend, Patti, went over to Romania this week to work. She's like in the witch world, doing all these events. And I said, the number 1 witches in the world are the Romanian witches. I said, they're on YouTube. You've got to go see them. And so she's like, I don't think it's going to have time. I said, Patti, if I tell you to see them. And she was having trouble, like chaos in her life. We felt somebody had sent some dark stuff. Same thing to me in my love life. And we knew who the person was, a very jealous person. And they had bought magic at a local magic shop. So she goes to Romania. She calls them. She mentions me. They're like, no, I want to meet Patti. I want to meet you. And they just met 2 hours ago. There's going to be all videos on her channel. Check out Patti and Nick on Instagram and her website. And them teaching you how to get uncrossed by negative energy, how to bring true love in, how to bring your money in. And they're famous. And then I found out my biological father was from Romania. I had some kind of connection, but it happened in 10 seconds. I felt, because I'm pretty psychic. I said, you need to call them now. They picked up the phone. It was one and done. They flew to Patti and they asked for no money from me. They just wanted me to spread the word, what they did. And it happened a couple hours ago, so we'll see how the energy works for the next few days. Yeah. Well, they're called the Romanian witches, Cassandra, and her mother and her sister, and her mother looks like one of the sisters, so beautiful. One of the things was they were going to tax the witches, and everybody uses a witch in Romania. It's like kind of like an in-house thing, like a priest. And they were going to tax the witches' money, which was really unfair because technically it's like a religion. And they did some mumbo jumbo. And one of the politicians said, we could never get it through. They did something to us, so they wouldn't tax them. But that's fair because, they're religious. Like, why you tax them? You don't tax the church. Yeah. So it's kind of understandable. So they do good stuff. I saw them, they'll see there's documentaries where women come to them and say, my love life screwed up, or I can't make money, and they fix it. You'll hear about what they do. And they live very humbly. They don't live large.
Obviously, you're a witch, and I'm meeting so many more witches these days.
I've been that way since I was a kid.
I did a past life regression a year or so ago. And in the regression, I was in a tribe, and I left the tribe by myself and traveled from sort of like deserty Utah down to what would have been like LA when it started. And when I got there, it was like, got to the beach and I was like, ooh, there's a cool farmer's market. And there was a bunch of people with like little tables and selling stuff. And I thought, oh, and I looked down and I had a pouch full of medicines. And I was like, oh, I'll set the table up and sell my medicines. And I sat down at the table and nobody really wanted my medicines. So time went by and I ended up having like these circles and groups. And in the end, only women ended up coming. So it ended up being like women's circles in the evenings. And after like 10 years, the men were growing really, really resentful of this because women were, gaining power and strength and magic skills and all kinds of stuff. And they were like, basically, you have to leave, or if you stay, we're going to kill you.
What?
And in the regression, I stayed and I stopped doing my magic. And in the regression, I could see everything until that point. And then I just like, the only thing I knew was like 30 or so years later, probably when I was around 70, I just died. And so the message in it was that either you're going to die if you don't do your magic. You might as well die trying. Because I died anyway, because I didn't do my magic. It was just like a dead space.
Every lifetime that I go into, I always see there's a witch. Like I was like, an herbalist, and I made like Patti was my mother in a past life in Scotland, which was very mystical and magical. I've always seen that, like nonstop. I'm even writing a script called it's about witches in Scotland when King James tries to kill all the witches, biggest massacre in the history of humanity for witches. But I love all that stuff because we are the alchemists. We are the ones that can create. We come from the creator. And so if every lifetime's happening at once and you have a really good lifetime, you are the witch that jumps into that lifetime to manifest your dreams. It's just inner work. Everybody spends so much time on the outer work all day long, going to the gym, working out, getting injections, all this shit to your face and your hair when you should be working here. Yeah. 80% should be here. 20% should be the other way.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what helped me find love, was like loving myself the most and dating myself in a sense that I just planned as much fun as possible. And then it put me in the right frequency. And also just self-work. I mean, like, I just talked to somebody who talked about Hoffman and I'm like, shoot, I almost went to Hoffman and then the COVID.
I was supposed to do that. We were just talking about that. Do you like it?
I almost went. I didn't go, but I've had plenty of therapy. I love EMDR. EMDR is the most powerful.
I just got a gift for EMDR. Am I going to love it? I just got a gift from somebody for my birthday. Oh,
Especially because you're intuitive and visual. It's going to be so powerful. You go back and you just reprogram traumatic memories. And traumatic could be it's traumatic just being something that happened where you have an absolute imprint of the moment. And so when you have an imprint of the moment, you're charged to that emotion and that time. That's why when somebody acts like a 10-year-old, I guarantee you they can track back to when they were 10, something happened like that, and they revert back to that energy. So you just loosen the grip of that and you reprogram the memory. It's not that I can't remember how I used to remember it. It's just not the first way I remember it now. Yeah, EMDR is super cool, but self-work is the most powerful for sure, for life.
I totally agree with you.
When you watch, like with your show, like how are you going to weave this knowledge?
In the new show on Patti Stanger, the Matchmaker, it's not Millionaire Matchmaker. The CW came to me. It's on Thursday night today. Check your local listings, but you can download the CW app. It's about breaking the patterns, childhood patterns, ancestral patterns. It's about why do you keep attracting the same thing and why don't you get what you want? And we shock them. Nick Viall is my co-host on it.
Oh, yeah.
And we shock them to shit, but then we give them one date in the end. And it's not about getting the date because they might come back next season with additional problems as they're going down the road. And we have Vicky there helping. She taught about manifestation. Jeff Lewis is fixing up Shane, his assistant. And we've had Gigi from Shaw's, but mostly it's regular people, one or two millionaires, but it's regular people that were going, we want you to find love, but you keep doing the same thing over and again, or you're so stuck in your own way, you haven't even gotten out of the house. A lot of women who haven't dated in years or have had sex in years were on the show. Sad, right? But we can fix you. And so hopefully people are going to take away. They let me put my woo-woo in there. You'll see that. I had Marissa Peer, one of my best friends. She's like the leading hypnotherapist in the world. She's with Vision and Mind Valley. Some major experts came in to help a lot. I had my friend Jen Wallen. She's a psychic, reads somebody. Then Patti came in and did some witchcraft on the show. I was shocking that they let her to do that. We did a spell. Yeah. It'll be fun. It's a lot of stuff that people haven't seen before. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I feel like even more.
It's airing now, and you can go back and watch the old episodes, but we just aired, I think, episode 5 last night. Yeah. Okay. Tonight.
Wow. Well, congratulations. How fun and good to meet you and good to talk to you, fellow witch.
And don't forget, we sent you a kit. I want you to try it with your boyfriend. You're going to have a great time. I sent you a set.
Do a massage.
Yeah.
With the candle.
Oh, is it like hot wax that you can use?
Yes.
Like,
it's great temperature.
It's like this,
Careful.
and there's a spout. See this?
Oh, is there? Oh my God. Okay.
I love it.
You're going to love it. They're going to love it. And I sent you men's and women's.
Smells amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Congratulations.
I can smell from here. It smells so good. It's like citrusing. It smells really good. You know?
I haven't worked on my telepathy skills enough to be able to smell what you're smelling right now, but
Your channel.
I like it.
Channel.